Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the When the Moon Hangs Low role-playing game. If you haven't seen the other parts of this review featuring this Bloodborne inspired role-playing game, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about how you play the game. When the Moon Hangs Low is a role-playing game, and as such, the emphasis of the game is intended to be the interactions between the various characters and the story they are telling together. But how do you tell if your character is able to accomplish a specific task or if they are able to outwit another character? That's when the rules come into play, resolving events when the outcome is uncertain. These rules are not expansive, and the game master's decisions supersede any and all of the rules. Let's talk about resolve first. All characters have a pool of resolve, which is a measure of their physical, mental, and spiritual fortitude. Resolve is used to power edges, and also to resist horror, stress, and other such harrowing experiences. If a hunter runs out of resolve, their curse will slowly become stronger until it eventually consumes them. When it comes to using edges, when a character uses an edge, it costs 1 resolve. If a character runs out of resolve doing this, they can no longer use their edges. When it comes to horror and stress, resolve is reduced by stress, horror, and other disturbing situations. When a character is confronted with a situation which could potentially cost them resolve, they must make a willpower skill check, with a difficulty value determined by the nature of the situation. If they succeed, they resist the effects and lose no resolve. If they fail the skill check, they lose a number of resolve determined by how disturbing the situation is. This is usually equal to the difficulty value of the willpower skill check. When it comes to these situations, maybe you encounter something disturbing but rational. For example, seeing a dead body, becoming lost in the dark. This is somewhat easy to handle. But maybe you encounter something definitely supernatural, like coming face to face with a ghoul. This is a bit more difficult to handle. But maybe you witness something reality-shattering, such as encountering a nightmare fragment or standing in the presence of the undergod. This is going to be very difficult to come to terms with. Now, when a character is confronted by a group of creatures that cause resolve loss, the difficulty value of the willpower check will increase by 1. This is to simulate the horror of being confronted with a horde of creatures. Regardless of how many times a character might have previously encountered a particular creature, they must always make a willpower check when faced by a creature that causes resolve loss. No matter how jaded they might be, a character will never become immune to horror. When a character runs out of resolve, it means 2 things. Firstly, they cannot use any edges until they regain at least 1 point of resolve. Secondly, and more importantly, the character's curse will increase in severity by a degree. Every time a character runs out of resolve, their curse increases. First to touched, then embraced, and finally to consumed. If a character runs out of resolve a 4th time, they are lost to their particular curse. If a character fails a willpower check while they have no resolve, then they lose a number of health equal to the resolve loss. This represents the effects of stress and horror on their body. If a character has run out of health and fails a willpower check, then the stress inflicts a wound on them instead. Let's talk about recovering resolve. Resolve can be recovered in small amounts by performing certain actions. Characters can regain resolve by resting. If a character spends at least 6 hours sleeping or otherwise engaging in light activity such as reading, eating, or talking, then they will recover 2 points of resolve. Resolve regained this way is only recovered at the end of the 6-hour period. If the character is disturbed or performs strenuous activity before the 6 hours have elapsed, then they do not benefit from the rest. Certain items can be used to restore varying amounts of resolve, as listed in the equipment chapter. A character can use as many such items as they have access to per scene. If a character's curse has increased to embraced severity, then they will have a resolve recovery option unique to their mark. A character who takes the reflect option during downtime fully recovers their resolve. Now let's talk about curses. Every hunter carries with them a terrible curse as a result of their mark. Every curse has 5 degrees of severity. This run from nascent to touched to embraced to consumed and finally to lost. Characters begin play with their curse as nascent. At this stage, the curse confers no penalties to the character. When a character runs out of resolve, their curse increases to the next degree of severity. A curse can be reduced by 1 degree by using the recuperate action in downtime. Reducing a curse removes the penalties associated with that degree of severity. Even physical changes vanish over the next few hours as the character slowly becomes more human. If a character's curse increases to the degree of lust, they are removed from the story as a player character. They may still appear in games, but will be controlled by the game master and are driven by new desires and compulsions that pit them against the player characters. The exact effect of being lost depends on their curse, and the exact reason they are no longer playable varies, but generally such doomed hunters vanish into the darkness before they can hurt their former allies. However, a few unfortunates may turn on their friends. When it comes to combat, Harrowmire is a place of great danger, especially once the sun goes down. All hunters have some proficiency at combat, and a good thing too. Let's talk about the combat sequence. The sequence begins when one character, that is a player character or a non-player character, takes an action that will cause harm to another character. At this point, the normal narrative gameplay is replaced with the combat sequence. First, you determine surprise. Then combat continues in rounds, determining initiative, and then combatants act in the initiative order, and when everyone has had their turn, the sequence after determining surprise repeats itself until combat ends. Let's talk about these steps. When it comes to surprise, sometimes the best way to get the drop on someone is to catch them unawares. If a character has passed a stealth check opposed by their target's awareness check before combat has begun, then they are considered to have surprised their target. This grants a plus 2d6 bonus to the attacker's initiative for the first round. If the victim of the ambush is particularly agile, however, sometimes they will still beat their attacker's initiative, even with the bonus. In this case, the hunter has become the hunted. When it comes to initiative, at the beginning of each combat round, all participants roll a number of dice equal to their physique and count the number of dice resulting in a 4, 5, or 6, as if they were making a trained skill check. The resulting number is their initiative. Those with the highest initiative react fastest and strike first. Those with the lowest initiative, of course, react slowest. In some situations, game masters may wish to roll initiative for non-player characters as a group in order to speed up play. When it comes to actions, starting with the character with the highest initiative, each character involved in the combat may take 2 actions chosen from a list. If 2 or more characters have the same initiative, they act simultaneously, although the players may wish to make their rolls sequentially to avoid confusion. Once every character who is able to act has done so, the round starts again with every player making a new initiative check. Any surprise modifiers no longer count after the first round of combat. The sequence of initiative and actions continues until the combat ends for whatever reason. So I really like this system. It has a good measure of simulation without getting things too bogged down. That is for the sort of experience that it's trying to express or represent or provide. I also like the way that Resolve plays into the curse mechanic, that is, your curse is a tangible thing. So you cannot get jaded or resilient or immune to the horrors that you will face, because these horrors are not having an effect on your mind, they are directly affecting your entire being. So you're going to be mutated by the darkness that you are fighting. I really like that it expresses a lot of the despair within the setting. You are still playing as normal humans that may be equipped with some supernatural powers, but at the same time they are still vulnerable, fragile to the horrors that they face. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about combat specifics, that is the actions that you can carry out, and more details. Thank you for watching this part of the review, And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.